Hi guys. Welcome to the Turkish series Stars channel. All the details are here, and we'll walk you through everything step by step. Before we dive in, remember to subscribe and share if you want more heartfelt stories like this one. Thank you for being with us today. A wave of grief has washed over the world of Turkish television. Beloved actor Barış Arduç has been struck by a painful loss in his family. His uncle passed away, and early this morning, Barış returned to his hometown for the funeral, surrounded by relatives, old neighbors, and colleagues who wanted to stand with him on this difficult day. The sky was heavy and gray, the kind of morning that adds weight to every step. Barış arrived quietly, eyes red, his face telling the story of a night without sleep. Those who know him well say he is strong and measured, but grief has a way of softening even the most guarded among us. In the hush of the ceremony, with prayers rising and the family standing close, something unexpected happened. Elçin Sangu, his former partner on screen and the subject of countless whispers over the years, appeared by the cemetery gate. She wore a simple black dress, a long coat pulled close against the wind, her hair tied back, her expression calm yet clearly wounded by the sight before her. There was no entourage, no stylists, no statement. No sign of her longtime partner, Yunus Öztekin, who did not attend. Only Elçin, moving with quiet purpose, as if determined to be there without turning the moment into a spectacle. At first, few noticed. But when she stepped closer and reached Barış, the air around them changed. She laid a hand on his arm as if seeking permission, he looked up briefly, and in that instant, the distance of the years folded. They embraced. It wasn't the embrace of two stars on a set. It was the embrace of two people who shared a life of scenes, memories, laughter, arguments, and a bond that never needed a headline to exist. Cameras circled at the edge of the crowd, trying to keep their distance. And yet, the moment was captured, a single, raw image of comfort, their faces pressed close, eyes closed, the world falling away for a heartbeat. The reunion was impossible to ignore. These two who once lit up the screen together on Karalık Aşk, who shaped an era of television with their chemistry, now stood side by side in a setting that no fan ever dreamed of seeing. Social media reacted instantly. This, one comment read beneath a trembling clip, "This is what real friendship looks like." Others echoed the sentiment, thanking Elçin for showing up when it mattered most, praising the quiet grace of her presence, and marveling at the way grief reveals who stands with you without being asked. Inside the family circle, Elçin didn't hover by the cameras. She moved near Barış's mother with tender restraint, kneeling slightly to speak so the older woman wouldn't strain. Those standing nearby watched as she took both of the mother's hands and offered condolences in a low voice, staying longer than anyone expected. She greeted each relative with a nod or a handshake, asking little questions, remembering names, promising to send flowers again next week. Her gestures, firm yet gentle, carried an understanding that respect is a language of its own in moments like this. As the ceremony ended and the crowd filed toward the cars, reporters approached with long-lensed caution. Microphones were raised. Questions hovered in the cold air, chasing quick answers that would later be trimmed into headlines. Barış paused, leaned slightly toward them, and with a strained voice said, "Not today. Please. I just want to remember my uncle." That single sentence was all he gave, and it was enough to draw a respectful distance. What came next fed a new ripple of whispers. After the funeral, witnesses saw Barış and Elçin step out of the same car at the family home, moving together with a silence that felt protective rather than secretive. There were no smiles, no performative gestures, only a mutual understanding that the day was bigger than both of them. They stood by the gate for a moment as relatives moved in and out, then separated to tend to the quiet tasks that follow any goodbye, greeting guests, making sure tea was poured, thanking the imam, signing a paper, hugging an aunt who had run out of tears hours ago. Friends close to the pair offered context that made the moment feel even more human. They hadn't seen each other in a long while, those friends said. Life, work, distance, all the predictable reasons. But as soon as the news reached her, Elçin didn't hesitate. she arranged her day, turned off her phone, and went. In an age when almost everything can feel performative, her decision was unadorned and real. The internet noticed. Comments flowed by the thousands, heavy with empathy, lit by gratitude. In the hardest hours, one fan wrote, "You learn who never truly left." Back at the cemetery, where someone had forgotten a black umbrella on a stone bench, a cluster of images captured the day like a sequence of soft, fading frames. Barış holding a rosary he kept turning in his palm. Elçin standing 3 steps behind him as prayers began, lips moving silently. A moment when she reached for a tissue and offered it without meeting his eyes, almost as if avoiding any sign that would invite a lens closer. Then that unmistakable embrace, the one that made time pause for everyone watching. Some said they were inseparable for long minutes. Others said it was barely a handful of seconds. Either way, the feeling clung to the air, grief shared is grief less heavy. As the hours rolled on, the tone of the day softened into something like composure. Even the tabloids, hungry for a headline, seemed to relent. There was a collective understanding that the two actors offered a quiet example of dignity, that fame, when stripped of all the glitter, is still made of people who love and hurt. The images of them together were posted again and again, each time accompanied by new captions. True loyalty outlives rumors. Some bonds don't need a stage to be real. One message, repeated often in different words, struck a chord. On a sorrowful day, the friend who comes is the friend you keep. As evening fell and guests slowly drifted away, the long day settled into that heavy, familiar silence that only families of the bereaved truly know. Barış retreated from cameras, choosing to sit with his cousins on the porch. Elçin stayed in the background, speaking to an aunt, then stepping into the kitchen to help a relative carry trays. There were no grand gestures. Just the rhythm of care, a door opened, a chair pulled, a hand lightly squeezed. When the time finally came for her to leave, there was no spectacle, only another quiet embrace and a whispered promise to check in tomorrow. Hours later, the footage shot that morning had gone viral. Clips showed the arrival, the solemn service, and the moment that would be discussed endlessly, 2 figures pressing through grief together. Fans of Karalık ask, already protective of the bond these two shared, filled comment sections with memories from those old days when they felt like they were watching something bigger than a series. "This reminded me of the warmth that made us fall in love with them," one comment said. Another read, "Anyone can smile for cameras, showing up like this is different." We kept hearing a refrain from many who were there. The presence of Elçin didn't dominate the day, it softened it. She didn't try to console away a pain that can't be erased, she simply stayed, without asking for anything back. For an industry where every encounter can feel calculated, the simplicity of her support gave the day an unexpected grace. Those closest to the family nodded when asked about it. Yes, they said, it mattered a great deal. For his part, Barış remained consistent in his silence. He did not speak further to the press. He stayed with his family and kept his grief private, as is his way. Later, when asked by a local journalist if he wanted to add anything more, he shook his head and repeated softly, "I would like to remember him in peace." That quiet strength, combined with the humility he showed throughout the day, reminded everyone why he is respected beyond the screen. As the story continued to gather attention online, many pointed out the parallels to their past. Just as the characters they once portrayed learned to trust each other in difficult moments, the real people behind those roles showed that the mutual respect never faded. It wasn't nostalgia, it was something more grounded. No one claimed this meant anything beyond compassion. And yet, there was a comfort in seeing that the world they once built on television still glowed faintly in the way they showed up for each other now. In the second half of the day, when the family returned to the cemetery briefly to place fresh flowers, a few cameras stayed at a distance and captured a quieter scene. You could see Barış stand with his mother, hold her arm gently, then step aside as Elçin came forward to speak softly to the family again. She offered to coordinate a meal for the coming days, promised to send help, and reminded them she would return if needed. No crowd surged, no spotlight chased her down. For a while, it was just people, bound by loss, trying to walk each other through a difficult passage. Many of the messages that poured in highlighted the same idea, expressed in countless variations. When a life darkens, the friend who arrives without fanfare is unforgettable. That sentiment became a banner across the day's narrative. A sad day will always tell you who your friend is, one fan wrote, and the words seemed to land in the hearts of thousands who felt the weight of the moment with them. By nightfall, the story had moved from a whisper to a chorus. Industry colleagues sent their sympathies. Fans posted photos from Karalik Ask, writing about scenes that first made them believe in kindness and devotion. Clips of the embrace reappeared in timelines like small lighthouses, not to dramatize grief, but to honor the way it was held. The questions that often circle such reunions faded into the background. Instead, the focus was on the humanity of two people who knew what it meant to be there for each other when the world felt like too much. When we piece together the day, the through line is unmistakable. Morning sorrow, a familiar face stepping out of the crowd, an embrace that steadied a shaking heart, a mother's hand held gently, promises to return, and a refusal to turn pain into a press conference. After the last guests left, we're told that Barış and Elçin once again kept close for a few minutes by the car, exchanging a few quiet words before parting ways with a nod. No declarations. No staged smiles. Just the kind of farewell that says, I am here and I will be again. For those wondering whether the rumors will start again, perhaps they will. That is what rumors do. But this day allowed people to see something beyond speculation. It showed a living connection, fragile and strong at once, that outlasts co-stars, seasons, premieres, and trending tags. It revealed that compassion can be louder than gossip and that the truest gestures rarely come with microphones attached. As we close this chapter, one last image lingers. The morning air is cold. The ground is damp. A handful of roses rests on fresh earth. In the distance, a modest crowd steps away to give the family space. Two figures pass near each other, their paths crossing without hurry. He nods. She touches his sleeve. The day continues, quietly, and the memory of a man who raised him carries forward in the stories they will tell at the table tonight. That is where we leave it, with respect for grief, gratitude for kindness, and a moment between two people that reminded everyone watching that dignity still has a place in the public eye. We will keep following with care and empathy, and we will share more when there is more that ought to be shared. This is the end of our video for today. If this touched you, don't forget to subscribe to Turkish series Stars and share the story so more people can see the softer side of a world often lit by spotlights. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, goodbye.